this video is about. The mother lost her necklace, but her son found a secret that saved the day. If this story touches your heart, please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The winter sun filtered through the tall pines that bordered their small home in Cedar Grove, casting dappled patterns of light and shadow across the wooden porch. It was one of those quiet, unassuming Saturday mornings where the world seemed paused, caught in the gentle embrace of frost. Inside, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the scent of pancakes sizzling on the griddle, a comforting signal of domestic normalcy. "Where's that boy of ours?" Marissa called out over her shoulder, glancing into the dimly lit hallway. Her voice was warm but laced with an undertone of worry. Ethan, her 9-year-old son, had a tendency to get lost in his own world. Such was the nature of his imagination, an endless expanse of adventure where he was the hero battling dragons or discovering hidden treasure. "He's probably in the backyard again, pretending to be a knight," Greg replied, his voice deep and steady from the kitchen, where he was flipping pancakes with expert skill. As he chuckled to himself, he couldn't help but think back to his own childhood, a time when he too had been swept away by fantasies. He had long since traded in his sword for a toolbox, but the whimsical spirit lingered in his son. Marissa took a moment to observe her husband, his brow slightly furrowed in concentration as he worked on breakfast. She loved these quiet moments, even as the weight of her own thoughts began to tug at her mind. She had lost something precious, her grandmother's necklace, a delicate chain graced with a pendant that held generations of family history. It was a piece she wore for every significant event, a talisman of strength and love passed down through the women in her family. Losing it felt akin to losing a part of herself. "Ethan," she called out again, this time more insistently. "Breakfast is ready." "Coming." His voice rang out from the backyard, muffled by the chill in the air. A moment later, he burst through the back door, his cheeks flushed from the cold. He looked every bit the adventurer he fancied himself to be, clad in a mismatched ensemble of a knitted sweater and cargo shorts, his hair tousled by the wind. "I slayed a dragon," he announced triumphantly as he took his seat at the table, his eyes alight with excitement. The remnants of imaginary battles danced in his mind, yet he could still sense the tension that hung in the air. "Is that so?" Marissa replied, forcing a smile as she set a plate of pancakes in front of him. "And what did you do with the treasure?" Ethan paused, his fork hovering above the fluffy stack. I buried it, in the backyard," he said, his eyes darting to his mother's face, intrigued yet slightly worried. He had picked up on Marissa's quiet demeanor, a telltale sign that something was amiss. "Why don't you show us where?" Greg interjected, sensing the need to lighten the mood. "We can go on a treasure hunt after breakfast." Marissa's heart warmed at her husband's attempt to divert the conversation, but the anxiety gnawed at her. "Actually, sweetie, there's something I need to talk to you both about." Ethan's expression shifted from excitement to concern. "What is it, Mom? Did the dragon come back?" "No, honey, nothing like that," she said quickly, though the analogy was not far off from her truth. "I lost something important, a necklace that belonged to Grandma. I can't seem to find it anywhere." Ethan's fork clattered back onto the plate. "Why don't we go look for it? I can help." His eagerness was palpable, his eyes shining with determination. "Really?" Marissa said, touched by his offer. "You do that for me?" "Of course. I'm the best treasure hunter in Cedar Grove," he declared, puffing out his chest as if the very declaration would summon the courage of 10 knights. "All right then. After breakfast, we'll search the house and the backyard." She smiled, grateful for the distraction from her worries. Greg nodded, his eyes twinkling with pride as he ribbed Ethan lightly. "Just remember, a true knight always has a backup plan. We may need to employ some strategic digging and sleuthing." Ethan grinned, his spirit undeterred. "I'll be the best knight. I'll find the treasure for you, Mom." As breakfast unfolded, laughter filtered through the house, filling the void of Marissa's growing anxiety. Yet her heart remained heavy, the image of the lost necklace swirling in her mind. She recalled the last time she had worn it, a family gathering where laughter echoed and stories flowed like wine, where her grandmother had clasped her hand and whispered tales of resilience and love. Marissa had promised to cherish it, to hold onto the legacy it represented. Once breakfast was finished, Ethan and Greg put on their jackets and Marissa followed, her heart racing at the thought of retracing her steps. They began their search in the house, checking every nook and cranny, every drawer and cushion. "Maybe it's under the couch," Ethan suggested, diving down to peer beneath it. Marissa couldn't suppress a chuckle at his earnestness. "We're not looking for a dragon here, buddy." "No, but there could be treasure," Ethan insisted, his small hands feeling around for anything shiny. Greg moved to the kitchen, running his hands along the countertops, while Marissa combed through her jewelry box, hoping against hope that it had somehow slipped through her fingers and found refuge among the baubles. But alas, it was not there. "Maybe it fell off when I was putting my coat on," she murmured, already envisioning the last time she had worn it. A brisk walk to the grocery store, the sun dipping low, casting golden rays that had seemed to dance on her skin. "Let's check your coat," Greg suggested, his voice steady. "Where did you put it?" Marissa's heart sank as she glanced toward the hallway. "It's in the closet, the one I used last Thursday." "We'll go check it out," Greg said, squeezing her shoulder gently. "Let's not give up hope yet." They moved to the closet together, Ethan tagging along with eager steps. Marissa opened the door and shuffled through the coats, her fingers brushing against the fabric as if hoping to conjure the necklace back into existence. But there was nothing but the scent of resolve and fabric softener. "Mom," Ethan's voice interrupted her thoughts. "What does it look like? Can I help look?" "It's a silver chain with a heart pendant," she explained, her heart aching at the thought of it lost forever. She hadn't realized until this moment just how much that necklace symbolized. Not just her connection to her grandmother, but her own identity as a mother, a keeper of stories and memories. "Okay, I'll look for hearts," Ethan declared, his voice brimming with purpose as he darted around the small space, peering into every shadow and corner with youthful determination. As Marissa watched her son, something shifted within her. This journey was not merely about finding a lost object. It was about reconnecting with the essence of family, the threads woven through love and shared history. Even if the necklace remained lost, the spirit of what it represented lived on in her heart and in Ethan's fervent quest. "Let's head outside to the backyard," Greg suggested, his demeanor calm yet encouraging. "We'll retrace your steps from the last time you wore the necklace." Marissa nodded, a flicker of hope reigniting within her. "All right, maybe it fell off while we were playing in the snow." Outside, the world was transformed into a winter wonderland, the snow glistening like jewels beneath the sun. As they walked, Marissa felt her worries dissipate into the crisp air. Ethan bounded ahead, joyfully kicking up snow with each step, his laughter ringing out like music. Greg turned to her, a reassuring smile on his lips. "You know, whether we find it or not, this moment is what's important. The treasure isn't just the necklace, it's the memories we're making right now." Marissa took a deep breath, feeling the weight on her shoulders lighten. She looked at her husband, his steady presence a grounding force, and at her son, whose innocent joy reminded her of the beauty in the midst of loss. "Together, we'll uncover the true treasure," she whispered, a new resolve settling in her heart as they ventured deeper into the snowy expanse. But unbeknownst to them, the day held secrets of its own, a hidden truth lurking beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered. It would take a sharp-eyed boy with an unyielding spirit to reveal the mystery and perhaps save the day in ways they could not yet imagine. The snow crunched beneath their boots as Marissa, Greg, and Ethan ventured into the backyard. The world was a canvas of white, and each breath felt like inhaling pure magic. Sunlight danced off the crystalline surface, casting glittering reflections that momentarily captivated Ethan's attention. His eyes widened with wonder, and he let out a squeal of delight, momentarily distracted from the mission at hand. "Look, Mom, it's like a giant snow globe," he exclaimed, spinning in a circle, his arms outstretched. Marissa couldn't help but smile. "It is, isn't it? Just like the ones we see in the stores during Christmas, all magical and perfect." "Can we make one?" he asked, his enthusiasm contagious. The thought of crafting a snow globe felt like the perfect distraction, a way to encapsulate this moment in time forever. "Maybe later, after we find the necklace," Greg suggested, nudging Ethan playfully. "We need our own treasure first." "Right," Ethan said, his little face scrunching up in determination. "Let's find that treasure. Where's the last place you remember wearing it, Mom?" Marissa knelt down to Ethan's level, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I wore it when we were playing in the yard last week, Ethan. We were building that snowman right over there." She pointed to a spot where the remnants of their frosty creation were barely visible beneath a fresh blanket of snow. "Then that's where we should start," Ethan declared, marching toward the snowman's former location, his small boots leaving a trail behind him. As they approached the area, Marissa's mind wandered back to that day. Laughter echoed in her memory, the joy of family bonding, the way the three of them had worked together to mold the snow into a plump figure, adorned with a carrot nose and twigs for arms. It had been one of those rare, beautiful winter afternoons when the world felt alive with possibilities. Greg began to sift through the snow, his hands digging into the cold fluff with the casual expertise of one who had spent many winters playing in it himself. "All right, young knight, let's see what we can uncover. We'll need to use our sleuthing skills," he said, adopting a playful tone that made Ethan beam with pride. "Do you think the necklace got buried?" Ethan asked, his brow furrowed in concentration. "What if it's hiding from us? I would if I were a necklace." Marissa chuckled, appreciating his imaginative take. "You might be right. It could be scared of the dragons you fought off yesterday." Ethan grinned, glancing back at her. "You think I'm a real knight, Mom, like the ones in the stories?" "Absolutely. You have the heart of a hero," Marissa replied, her voice warm. "And knights are brave just like you." With renewed fervor, Ethan continued to dig, his small hands moving the snow aside with determination. Marissa watched him, her heart swelling with pride and a bittersweet sense of longing. She wished her grandmother could see this moment. The boy who carried the spirit of imagination, the one who could create worlds with his belief alone. Greg's voice broke through her reverie. "Hey, look at this." He held up a small, rounded object glistening in the sunlight. "Is this what we're looking for?" Marissa's heart raced as she leaned closer, but her excitement quickly faded. It was a small, rusted button, likely lost from an old coat. "Not quite," she said, forcing a smile to cover her disappointment. "Keep looking then," Ethan urged, his face resolute as he resumed his excavation. The sun climbed higher in the sky, casting warm rays that made the snow sparkle. After a while, Marissa began to feel the chill seep through her layers. She rubbed her hands together, trying to stave off the cold. "Are you guys getting tired?" she asked, but her voice carried the hint of hope that perhaps the next treasure would be close. "Never, we're treasure hunters," Ethan shouted, his excitement unwavering. "We'll find it, I'm sure of it." Greg smiled at his son's enthusiasm and ruffled his hair affectionately. "That's the spirit, buddy. Just remember, Even if we don't find the necklace today, we're making our own treasure in the process. Ethan nodded seriously, his brows furrowing in concentration as he continued digging. But I still want to find it. Marissa's heart fluttered at his earnestness. Me too, Ethan. It means a lot to me. Let's spread out a little, Greg suggested, casting his gaze across the yard. Maybe if we all search different areas, we can cover more ground. Marissa, why don't you check near the swings? I'll take the tree line. Okay, Marissa agreed, grateful for the new direction. She made her way toward the swings, brushing her hands against the cold metal. She remembered how much Ethan loved to swing high in the air, feeling invincible, and she allowed herself to picture that joy as she searched. As she knelt down to inspect the area underneath the swings, her heart felt heavy with memories. The necklace was more than just a piece of jewelry. It was a symbol of stability in her life, a connection to her roots and the matriarchs who had shaped her. She needed to find it, not just for herself, but to honor her grandmother's legacy. Ethan, she called after a moment, her voice echoing back to her. Come over here for a second. He rushed over, his cheeks flushed with excitement. What is it, Mom? Did you find something? She shook her head but smiled. No, but I wanted to ask you something. Do you remember the stories Grandma used to tell you about her childhood? Ethan's face lit up with remembrance. The one about the big storm, and how she and her brother built a fort out of snow. Yes, exactly, Marissa said, her heart warmed by the memory. And the necklace symbolizes all the stories she carried with her. Just like those stories, how do you think we can keep her spirit alive? Ethan thought for a moment, his young brows furrowing in concentration. By telling the stories to everyone, and by making new ones too. Marissa's heart soared, the conversation reconnecting her with the very essence of what she was searching for. That's right, and today we're making a new story, treasure hunting together just like she would have loved. With a renewed sense of purpose, she called Greg over and shared her thoughts. It's not just about finding the necklace, it's about reconnecting with our family's history. No matter if we find it or not, we're creating our own legacy. Greg smiled at her, his eyes reflecting understanding. You're right, Marissa. Let's keep that spirit alive, treasure or no treasure. Just then, Ethan's voice rang out, cutting through the moment. I found something. Marissa and Greg turned to see Ethan standing beside a small mound of snow, his hands raised high in triumph. They rushed over to him, hearts racing with anticipation. What is it? Marissa asked, leaning down to see. Ethan dug into the snow and pulled out a small box, its edges worn and its color faded. It was hidden here. I swear I didn't plant it. Greg knelt beside Ethan, his brow raised in surprise. Where did you find that? It was just under this snow, I swear. Ethan exclaimed, his excitement palpable. Marissa's breath caught in her throat as Ethan opened the box. Inside lay a collection of small toys, trinkets, and assorted treasures. A miniature knight, a tiny silver key, and even a few marbles that glimmered in the sunlight. But more importantly, nestled at the bottom was a keychain with a heart-shaped pendant, not unlike her grandmother's necklace. Wow, look at this, Ethan exclaimed, holding the keychain up with wide eyes. It's like treasure. Marissa's heart raced. Could this be it? Could the universe be signaling something beyond the tangible? She took the keychain from his hands, feeling the cool metal against her skin. It wasn't her grandmother's necklace, but it felt as if it held a fragment of the same spirit. Ethan, this is amazing, she said, her voice filled with awe. You might have just uncovered something truly special. Greg nodded, his arm wrapping around Marissa's shoulder. It's a reminder that even when we think we've lost something, new treasures can emerge. Ethan beamed, the joy radiating from him like sunlight. Now we have even more treasure. Can we use it to tell more stories? Marissa smiled, wiping away a stray tear that had formed as she remembered her grandmother, proud of the legacy she had left. "Yes, my brave knight, we will tell many stories, and who knows, maybe this little keychain will lead us to new adventures." In that moment, surrounded by love and laughter, the weight of her loss was lifted. They may not have found the necklace, but they had uncovered an unexpected bond, a treasure of memories that would last a lifetime. As they headed back inside, the chilly air giving way to the warmth of home, laughter filled the space. As they stepped back into the warmth of their home, a gentle glow enveloped them, driving away the cold that clung to their clothes. The comforting scent of pancakes lingered in the air, weaving a tapestry of domestic bliss that felt like a cozy blanket on a winter's day. Marissa placed the newfound trinket on the kitchen table, its heart-shaped pendant catching the light and glimmering like a beacon of hope amidst her worries. "Mom, can we write down all the stories the necklace reminds us of?" Ethan asked, plopping down into his chair with enthusiasm, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Then when we tell them, we can make them even bigger and better." Marissa exchanged a glance with Greg, feeling a swell of pride for their imaginative son. "That's a great idea, Ethan. We could have a family story time. We can even invite Grandma over." Ethan's face lit up with a mischievous grin. "And we can pretend she's a magical fairy who tells us secrets about the past." Marissa chuckled softly, her heart brimming with a bittersweet warmth. "Oh, she would love that, wouldn't she?" Greg leaned against the counter, arms crossed, an amused smile spreading across his face. "I can already see it now, fairy grandmother floating around, sharing tales of adventure and bravery from the old days. Like how she fought the giant snow trolls," Ethan added, his eyes wide with imagination. "Exactly," Marissa replied, her voice softening as she recalled her grandmother's laughter, how it would resonate like music through the clamor of family gatherings. She had a way of making even the most ordinary stories feel like epic tales, didn't she? Greg nodded thoughtfully. She always had a story ready. That's what made her so special. As they gathered around the kitchen table, Marissa felt the weight of her earlier worries start to lift, replaced by the warmth of family connection and shared memories. "Let's start with the first story. Ethan, what's the first memory that comes to your mind when you think of Grandma?" Ethan furrowed his brow in concentration, tapping a finger against the table. The time she brought us cookies. Remember? The chocolate chip ones that were all gooey and warm. She said they were magic cookies." Greg laughed heartily. "Those were the best. I think those cookies had secret powers. They could make anyone smile." Marissa's heart swelled as she recalled that day, the laughter echoing through the kitchen as they baked together, the flour dust motes dancing in the sunlight, each moment infused with love. "That's a wonderful memory, Ethan. How about we write that down as our first story?" Ethan nodded eagerly, his tiny hands reaching for a notepad and pencil. "I can write it. I'm a good writer now." As he scribbled, Marissa took a moment to appreciate the beauty of the scene. The sunlight poured through the window, illuminating her son's joyful face as he crafted his words. "I'm so proud of you, buddy," she whispered, her voice tinged with emotion. "You're capturing the magic of those moments." Greg leaned closer, placing a gentle hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You're the real treasure hunter, Ethan. You're bringing our family's history to life." With each story they wrote, the weight of Marissa's earlier loss transformed into something lighter, more ethereal. It was as if the act of recounting their memories was stitching together a quilt of love, each tale a vibrant square that represented the essence of who they were. "And then," Ethan exclaimed, his excitement bubbling over, "there was the time Grandma taught me how to plant flowers in the garden. She said we were planting magic seeds." Marissa felt her heart tighten at the memory. Yes, She believed that flowers could bring happiness and joy to everyone, didn't she? Yup, and I remember how she said if we watered them with laughter, they would bloom even brighter. Ethan added, scribbling furiously. Greg chuckled, shaking his head in awe. I'm telling you, that lady had a secret to life. We need to keep these stories alive. They're precious. As Ethan continued to write, Marissa glanced at Greg, her heart reflecting the bond they shared. Do you remember that time we all went to the park and Grandma challenged you to a race? Greg laughed, his eyes sparkling with fondness. Oh, I remember. She won, of course. She was like a little rocket. I don't think I've ever seen anyone run so fast. Ethan looked up, his eyes wide with curiosity. She beat you, Dad? No way. Yes, she did. She had this fire in her, even when she was getting older, Greg replied, his smile softening. She taught me that age doesn't matter when it comes to spirit and determination. Can I write that one too? Ethan asked, bouncing in his chair, eager to capture every ounce of their family history. Marissa nodded, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over her. Absolutely. What a great lesson to learn from her. As the stories unfolded, the warmth of familial love wrapped around Marissa like an embrace. Each tale they shared served as a reminder that while they may have lost the physical necklace, what they retained was far more valuable. The legacy of resilience, joy, and love that her grandmother had imparted to them. After what felt like hours of storytelling and laughter, they had filled pages with memories, each one a reflection of the bonds that tied them together. Marissa looked at the pages, marveling at the collection of stories they had created. We should make a book out of this, a family storybook. Ethan's eyes sparkled, excitement radiating off him. Yes, a treasure book with all the stories about Grandma. Exactly, Marissa replied, her heart swelling with pride. We can add illustrations too. Wouldn't that be fun? Greg nodded. I can help with that. I may not be an artist, but I could draw a stick figure or two. It'll be the best book ever, Ethan exclaimed, bouncing in his seat. As they began discussing ideas for the illustrations, Marissa paused, feeling a sense of peace wash over her. It was in these moments of laughter and storytelling that she felt closest to her grandmother. Each memory they recounted was like a thread weaving them together, connecting the past with the present. As evening approached, the sun dipped low, casting golden hues across the kitchen. The trio gathered around the table, their hearts full of warmth and gratitude. Marissa glanced at the heart-shaped keychain, now resting on the table, simple yet profound. It was a reminder that treasures come in many forms, often not the ones we initially seek. Mom, Ethan asked suddenly, his voice soft but inquisitive. Do you think Grandma is watching us right now? Marissa felt a lump in her throat as she looked at her son, a bittersweet smile forming on her lips. I believe she is, Ethan. I think she's proud of us, proud that we're keeping her spirit alive. With that, the warmth of the kitchen wrapped around them, creating a protective cocoon, as if the walls themselves were echoing the laughter and love that had filled the space. Marissa took a deep breath, feeling the connection to her grandmother strengthen within her, a thread of love merging past, present, and future. As they finished their stories and began to clean up, Greg turned to Marissa, his eyes serious yet soft. You know, losing the necklace was hard, but maybe it opened the door for something even more meaningful. Marissa nodded, understanding the weight of his words. It did. It reminded us of what's truly important. Ethan chimed in, a proud smile on his face. And we found new treasures together. Isn't that what adventure is all about? Absolutely, Greg said, ruffling Ethan's hair affectionately. Adventure is all about the journey, the memories we create along the way. Marissa felt her heart swell with gratitude for her family, the love that enveloped them stronger than any necklace could ever represent. They may have lost a physical item, but they had forged a new legacy, a tapestry of stories, laughter, and love that would echo through generations to come. As they finished tidying up and began preparing for their evening routine, Marissa glanced back at the keychain, its heart-shaped pendant glinting softly in the fading light. It was a reminder, a symbol of love, resilience, and the bonds that would never fade, no matter what challenges life presented. In the heart of Cedar Grove, where the winter sun kissed the snow, a new chapter unfolded, a testament that true treasure lay in the connections we forge, the stories we share, and the love that binds us together. And in that moment, Marissa knew they had found something far more valuable than any necklace, a legacy of love and adventure that would endure. The evening settled softly over Cedar Grove, the twinkling stars emerging one by one against the velvet sky, casting their gentle glow over the snow-draped landscape. Inside their cozy home, the remnants of the day lingered in the air, the scent of pancakes and the warm hum of laughter still echoing in Marissa's heart. As she washed the dishes, the clink of porcelain became a rhythmic accompaniment to her thoughts, an unintentional metronome keeping time with the memories they had shared. "Can you pass me that towel, please?" Greg asked, having just finished his portion of the cleanup. He stood by the counter, his hands slightly damp, a smile still lingering on his face as he caught Ethan's eye, who was now diligently drawing at the kitchen table. "Sure," Marissa replied, handing him a towel as she wiped her hands on her apron. She paused to glance at Ethan, whose little face was scrunched in concentration as he crafted his illustrations for the family storybook. "What are you working on there, buddy?" she asked, her voice warm, filled with buoyancy. "I'm drawing Grandma," Ethan exclaimed, his excitement bubbling over as he held up the page. The drawing was stick figure-like but undeniably spirited, long white hair flowing like a cascade, a round smile, and arms wide open as if embracing the world. "See, and she's got her magic cookies." Marissa's heart swelled at the sight. "It's perfect, Ethan. You captured her perfectly. I want to make it look like she's floating on sparkles, like magic," he said, his eyes sparkling with the essence of his imagination. "Then let's add some glitter to it later," Greg suggested, recalling the craft supplies they had tucked away in the corner of the living room. "That'll make her sparkle even more." "Yeah, like she's in a storybook." Ethan nodded vigorously, his pencil moving rapidly as he began sketching swirls around the figure. Marissa smiled, glancing toward the window. The darkening sky outside felt both expansive and intimate, wrapping them in a cocoon of shared love and creativity. It was a stark contrast to the worry that had once plagued her earlier that day, a reminder that even amidst loss, joy could be rediscovered in the simplest of moments. As they continued their preparations for the evening, the conversation shifted effortlessly back to the stories they had shared. "What do you think Grandma would say about your drawing?" Marissa asked, her voice soft, her heart full. Ethan paused, biting his lip in thought. "I think she'd say it's the best drawing ever, and she'd tell me to keep being a knight and sharing my adventures." His declaration was earnest, his belief in his grandmother's wisdom unwavering. "She would, wouldn't she?" Marissa said, the warmth in her voice carrying the weight of affection. "She always encouraged us to be brave and imaginative. Just like you," Greg added, teasingly nudging Marissa with his elbow. "I've seen you battle your fair share of dragons, too." Marissa chuckled lightly, recalling the many moments of challenge she had faced and overcome, often with Greg's unwavering support. "I might not have fought dragons, but I've certainly faced my own share of battles, that's for sure." "Like what?" Ethan asked, his curious gaze bouncing between his parents. "Well," Marissa began, a smile creeping onto her face as she thought of some of the more humorous challenges. "Like the time I tried to bake a cake for your birthday and forgot to add sugar. It turned out like a rock. We could have used it as a paperweight. Ethan burst into laughter, his giggle infectious. I remember that. You said it was a sugar-free cake, and I was like, what does that mean? Greg chimed in. It meant we all had to eat ice cream instead. Best birthday ever because of that. See, even when things go wrong, we find a way to make them right, Marissa said, her heart buoyed by their shared laughter. That's what Grandma would remind us. Things don't always go as planned, but it's how we handle it that counts. Ethan nodded, his innocence wrapped in understanding. So we're just like knights too, right? Making our own adventures. Exactly, Greg said, brushing a hand through his hair. In every moment we have that choice. We can be scared or we can be brave. That's how heroes are made, Marissa added, her eyes sparkling with warmth. And every story we tell, every adventure we create is a part of our legacy. With a satisfied nod, Ethan returned to his drawing, lost in a world of imagination once again. Greg moved to sit beside him, pulling out his phone to record a time lapse of the drawing process while Marissa finished washing the last of the dishes, her heart brimming with gratitude. As the evening progressed and the kitchen settled into a comfortable quiet, Marissa joined Ethan at the table, her curiosity piqued. So, what's next for our storybook night, Ethan? He looked up, his eyes wide with excitement. What about the time Grandma took us to the park and we made that huge snow fort? We could add that. His enthusiasm was magnetic, infecting Marissa with renewed energy. Yes, that was one of the best days, and we can add our adventures from that day too, Greg chimed in, setting his phone down to engage more fully in their creative process. You were fearless scaling that fort, Ethan. You climbed higher than all of us. Yeah, and then Grandma pretended to be the queen of the fort, and she threw imaginary snowballs at everyone. Ethan laughed, his cheeks flushed with joy. I want to draw that too, can I? Absolutely, let's reenact it, Marissa suggested playfully. But first, we need to write it down. What do you remember most about that day? Ethan's face twisted as he recalled. The snow was super deep and I got stuck, but Grandma helped me. Yes, she did. She always made sure you were safe, didn't she? Marissa said softly, her heart swelling with a bittersweet nostalgia. Yeah, and she laughed so much when I fell over. Ethan said, giggling again. I want to draw her laughing. That sounds perfect, Greg added, his heart warmed by the vibrant imagery Ethan painted with his words. We'll make sure your drawing shows just how much joy she brought into our lives. As the family continued to share memories, weaving tales of laughter and love into the fabric of their new storybook, Marissa felt a sense of peace wash over her. The weight of the lost necklace had transformed into something far more profound, a legacy of their grandmother that transcended material possessions. But just as the air filled with warmth, a sudden gust of wind rattled the window, causing Marissa's breath to hitch in her throat. Did you hear that? She asked, her heart skipping a beat. Just the wind, Greg reassured her, noticing her sudden unease. It's quite gusty outside. Right, she said, forcing a smile as she glanced outside, the trees swaying gently under the weight of the wind. Her thoughts drifted to the necklace once more, the feeling of loss creeping back in, yet she pushed it aside. Tonight was about celebration, celebrating memories, love, and family. Ethan's voice broke through her contemplation. Mom, can we add a page for today? Like the adventure we had looking for Grandma's necklace. Marissa's heart swelled at his thoughtfulness. Of course, that's a fantastic idea. We should capture every detail of our treasure hunt and how we found new treasures instead. With renewed energy, they dove back into their creative process, each member of the family contributing to the page, their laughter and excitement filling the room. As they crafted stories and drawings, Marissa felt as though they were creating a living tapestry, each memory a thread that connected them to each other and the past. As the clock ticked on and the evening deepened, they finally laid down their pens and pencils, a sense of accomplishment bubbling between them. The little booklet was coming to life, filled with drawings and memories, laughter and love, a testament to the bond they shared. Greg turned to Marissa, a tender smile on his face. "You know, I think your grandmother would be proud of us, don't you think?" Marissa nodded, her heart full. She would. She always believed in the importance of family and storytelling. Ethan jumped in, excitement radiating off him. "And we'll make sure her stories never fade," he declared, his youthful spirit shining brightly. "Yes," Marissa whispered, her voice catching slightly. "We will carry her spirit with us always." As night descended upon Cedar Grove, the family lingered at the table, soaking in the warmth of the moment. The world outside faded into darkness, but inside, the glow of love illuminated their hearts, reminding them that treasures could be found in the most unexpected places. And in the richness of memory, they discovered the truest form of legacy, a life lived fully, surrounded by love, laughter, and the stories that would endure, echoing through generations to come.